Going to be discussing everything to do with interval training and how it not only builds incredible fitness but also helps metabolism, losing weight, and lots of other health features that people aren't aware of. So let's get stuck into it. So by definition, the interval training is just another way of describing high intensity interval training, so also known as HIIT. Sort of really it's like weight training, because it's like you're doing a set and then you have a rest. So that's why it shares a lot of the similar benefits that weight training and strength training have. So by breaking your exercise session, so instead of going for a long run, you could be by breaking it up into like 1 minute fast and 1 minute walking and 1 minute even standing still. It has a completely different effect on the body, because you can use that running as instead of pacing yourself as a jog, it's like an all-out sprint, and then you just come to a rest so you can do it and repeat it over and over. So I think a lot of people are aware of what it is. I don't think a lot of people are quite aware of what it does. So it has, and some people abuse it as well, which we'll discuss in a minute as well. All right, so in terms of burning fat and weight loss, instead of looking at total calories burnt, like for say a long run or a long cycle or even a long walk even, it's more about what it does to the body, how it has to recover from the damage, the lack of oxygen, what it does, how the body adapts to this stress, because that's really what it is, and what it does over the next couple of days, because it's not really about the actual workout itself. So when they've used several studies that looking at this, what they've found is that it's the high levels of chemical compounds that allow more fat to be burned from under the skin and the muscles that are a byproduct of working out like this. So and that's also what changes the metabolic response, which is, like I said earlier, very similar to strength training, because it does the same thing. All right, so the both of them use the muscles in a much more explosive way that sort of leans more to fast twitch fibers, which are really inefficient, and they drain a lot of energy. Even though on the workout time itself the energy doesn't look that great, it's actually the energy that it uses to repair the damage that you created that is a more benefit to you in the long term, more so than a long slow walk or a long slow run, where there's nowhere near as much damage. The muscles aren't used, especially the fast twitch ones are hardly used at all. So an example of like how this is tested, and there's thousands of tests you could look up. I've just given you a couple examples here, but this would be one where they use some women working out for 20 minutes on a spin bike. So basically alternating 8 seconds of sprinting on a bike with 12 seconds of just lightly spinning the wheel, so really just doing nothing, versus the women who exercise at a regular pace for 40 minutes. So they had half the time of working out versus them. After doing this for 3 times a week for 15 weeks, those who did the 20-minute interval routine lost 3 times as much fat as the women who did the 3 times a week of 40 minutes at a constant pace. So in half the time, they were able to achieve 3 times the result. All right. And you could use swimming, running, all different types of things to look at this as well. So the resulting increase in fat oxidation is thought to drive the increased weight loss. So one of the best parts of this is the shorter training means you don't need as much time to train. So which is great if you don't have a lot of time, and really comes back to the old saying of less is more. So, you know, a lot of people just don't have the time to devote hours and hours to long, slow cardio, and then it's boring as buggery anyway. If that's what you want to do, then that's fine. If you're into marathons and endurance, that's great. I'm not saying there's anything against it, but if your goal is to lose weight or just to really improve your fitness, you're going to get better results from interval training. So now I've used examples of swimming and running and cycling, which are 2 of the most common versions, probably the 2 most popular ones, but they're not the only ones. All right, so I could use skipping, I could use boxing. So let's say I've got issues with my legs, I can't really, so I've got sore knees or something like that, sore back, these would not be good choices. You would just make everything worse. Where boxing, I could probably get the same sort of benefit, but I'm predominantly using my arms, punching a bag or even with mitts. Skipping is a different version again. A lot of people are really bad at skipping, so the inefficiency of it is really what makes it work so well. Over time, obviously, you're going to get better at it, so you just learn different skills of the rope. Again, I could use swimming and battle rope, so these are both predominantly upper body based. So swimming 70% upper body, and obviously the ropes are the same. There's a little bit of legs in some of the versions of the ropes, but very, very inefficient routine. So I could go 20 seconds hard, 40 seconds rest, repeat it 10 times. It'd be really, really drained. Probably mightn't even make 10. Swimming, just swim all out for 50 metres or 100 metres. You know what I mean? Just however way you want to slice and dice it. So you don't always have to run and cycle. That's just the one that most studies look at, most people do, but it's not the only way. I could even use walking itself. I could walk fast for a minute, just walk easy for 2 minutes if I don't want to go all out hard on the other things. Even go up the stairs a few times, do the stairs really fast, have an easy walk, come back around, do the stairs again. There's many ways you can slice and dice this. All right, now before you get started trying to kill yourself, always make sure your technique's good. So if you have issues with running technique or cycling or swimming, it would not be wise to just start going to crush yourself with interval training. So so this quote is a good one here: aggressive physical training cannot change fundamental mobility stability problems at an effective rate without also introducing a degree of compensation and increased risk of injury. So in rough words, it means if your technique and your movement skills are not capable, don't start trying to crush it with fitness and hope it just figures it out. Work on those things first and then apply fitness. All right, so I'm assuming in this video, if you're looking at interval training, that you're already at that point. All right. Now, how do you design a workout? Now, this is something I haven't really gone into in videos before, and this is something I've used for a long time. Really sort of simple way. There's many ways you can do it, but this is the way that I like it to do it. And then it makes it more specific to what you're wanting to get out of it. So this would probably be more for people in sports and especially running, specific distance running type stuff. But it still can apply to anyone. So I use the acronym DIRT, which means distance of how fast you want to run, cycle, swim, whatever it is. The interval is the length of the recovery between each of the sets. The reps, how many fast intervals do you want to do in one session, and the time you want to aim for within each interval. So to pick the right type of training, I'm going to give you examples of these in a second anyway, so if you'd be confused, I'll show you what I mean. So to pick the right type of training for your goal, for example, if you want to lose weight, then 12 seconds fast with 8 seconds for 10 to 15 minutes of a total session is might be all you need. The speeds you do are completely irrelevant. It's more about your exertion within the 12 seconds fast. So, however, if you're preparing for a 10-kilometre running race, then you need to use much longer distances. 12 seconds fast is not relevant to you. You need to sort of build on a little bit more endurance-based stuff. All right, and you'll need longer intervals because this type of stuff won't really be specific enough to what you need. All right. So varying the rest times can also make a big difference. Sometimes I like to stand still, where I want to emphasize the speed and the really high intensity part. Other times I deliberately decrease the length of the recovery to try and build in some more endurance. And this can also doesn't allow the energy sources to completely restore themselves, so resynthesize, as I'll put here, but which can have good benefits. Again, it just depends on what the objective or the purpose of what you're trying to do it is. So it's not like one's necessarily always better than the other. They're just different. All right. So when you're doing that sort of not standing still, but you're sort of still jogging or walking or still moving in some way, forces you to draw on the emergency backup system, which then becomes the lactic acid system, or lactate system. So the body adapts to this by tolerating smaller amounts of the lactic acid, enabling you to cruise at a higher wattage or faster pace with less lactic acid building up. And like I said a few times, it's all good. All of these are good. It just depends on what you're wanting. So you can see here in energy transfer. So in the first 2 to 10 seconds, very much like phosphate. So you're not, which means that 100% glucose carbohydrates. All right, but it's only very short duration. Then it burns it all up. A bit like rocket fuel, I suppose you could say. So then, as it starts to deplete itself, you get into this point where lactate is going to be the emergency system that comes in. All right, and that'll sustain it for a period of time, but usually about 90 seconds, starting to really wane off, and that's where your legs get turned to like lead, and then that's when the aerobic system kicks in. So most of the intervals, you're sort of in this area. You don't really want it to last too much longer unless you're deliberately doing it for endurance based. So that's where you'll see this 3-minute one. It'd be probably usually around my cut-off time. But for most people, it's way back here somewhere. I'm wanting to really draw on this part because that's where you're the most inefficient. You get the biggest bang for your buck. All right, so here's some ideas of what I might do. So I want to work on that speed acceleration. So the duration of the effort, so that's the D, 10 to 20 seconds, resting of about 30 to 40, 5 to 10 sets. So this is almost 100% maximal effort, and pretty much the phosphate energy system is what you're using. So big example, this be 10 reps of 40 meters with a 30-second rest. The objective of this workout is to improve acceleration and sort of almost beginning top end speed. So perfect for sporting athletes like football players, soccer players, basketball players, where they're never really running that much for that far a distance or for very long. So endurance running is not really relevant to them, but high bursts of explosive speed is. All right, so if I do a different version, building top end speed with a bit more lactate threshold, now I'm running for 20 to 40 seconds and 5 times exercise duration, so almost 2 to 10 times of the sets. So I might have 40 to 60 seconds of running all out. So this would be an example of running 200 meters instead of 40 meters. So, and this time I make the rest last longer because I'm going to be hitting the lactate system. All right, so the objective of this is to start working on the lactate threshold, so getting my body used to having my legs turn into lead. If I was more focused on about the top end speed, I'd just increase the rest to 3 minutes. All right, but so again, because it has a bit of a crossover point here. The last one would be like an aerobic one, so this would be where I'm sort of really drawing it out a lot further. So the duration of the effort, 2 to 4 minutes, rest about 2 to 4 minutes, 4 to 6 sets, very high intensity, but nowhere near the intensity of, so these ones 90 to 95 and this was 100. All right, so you can see as it becomes more aerobic, the intensity starts to wane. All right, so an example of what I might do with this would be 6 reps of 800 meters with a 3-minute rest. In the running world, these are known as Yasso. So there's a guy called Bart Yasso invented this theory that if you could run sub 3-minute 800s 10 times using only a 2-minute rest, you should be able to run a sub 3-hour marathon. And I don't know if it's exactly that. I have done these at exactly that, and they are brutal, but there's a lot more to running marathons than just doing this, as anyone would tell you, but it does give you a really good endurance base. Great for 10 kilometre. I used to use this particular interval session for half marathons and 10 kilometre races when I used to do them a lot, and yeah, it really does prepare you quite well. But again, it's not for everyone. Again, if I'm a sporting player, basketball player, probably going to be spending more time on this one, maybe some of this one. If I'm weight loss, I'm probably maybe that 8 to 10, 12 seconds thing on a spin bike might be enough. Now, in terms of metabolism and all that sort of stuff, none of this stuff is going to work well if your diet doesn't match. All right, so everyone should know that. I won't go too much into diet, but if you are eating the right thing, you are doing your strength workouts, and you're adding a couple of these on the side, it's fair to say you're really improving your health better than it's ever been before. Obviously, stress and getting to sleep on time are other big factors, but really providing the body with the building blocks that the strength training may not provide to the same level with this sort of real cardiovascular and aerobic and blood volume sort of stuff. Some of the strength workouts can do that, but they do get a bit sort of risky if you're trying to push the limit. So where these are a little bit less risky because there's one thing, it's not as much coordination, so they're a little bit easier to sort of push the boundaries on. Yeah, anyway, so I hope that gives you a bit of more information about interval training and some different ideas you can use. If you want more ideas, there's some great books and stuff on the online shop. I'll put it in the description below. You can check that out. The little black book as well has a lot of good workouts in there. Some of the extra ones of these ones, that I only put 3 of them, but I have about 15 of them. So yeah, check it out in the description, and if you have any questions, yeah, put a comment below in the video and I'll get back to you. Alright, hope you enjoy that. See you next time.